Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. I have my friend, Matt, the Lumberjack landlord, name to be determined later, on my channel here today because I need some help from him. Recently, I did a walkthrough where I have a tenant vacancy. If this is your first time to my channel, I reached financial freedom in about 8 years, worked for 4 more years, but retired recently. And how I did it was with buy and hold real estate. I invested in small multifamily. I house hacked twice, but the others were purchased as investment properties. Most of my investing is designed around limiting tenant turnover. So in 12 years of investing, this tenant turnover is my 4th ever. And this person moved out of the area. So recently I did this video where I did a walkthrough to find out that it wasn't actually what I expected. I thought it was a 1-bedroom with a den. It's already a 2-bedroom. So I don't even have to do anything. I'm going to be upgrading things like new flooring, replacing some lights. But really, this place is almost rent ready, except for the electrical outlets. And this is something that I saw Matt do on his channel. He did a product review, and I realized that the quality of this rental will look significantly better if I use some simple things that Matt's going to teach us today. So Matt, if you could talk a little bit about why you do this and then the products that you actually choose.
Sure, absolutely. Well, Dion, thanks for having me. I think it's tremendously valuable to bring up the perceived value of a unit when they walk in and they don't see outlet covers that are painted on, cracked, almond colored or yellowed. I just think that it really just ups the perceived value of the unit. And so any unit that I go into, certainly when there's a turnover, there's almost always paint work that we do. And then we make sure that if it's the first time that we've inherited the unit, i.e. we bought it, we let the tenant stay there, but then after they left, we said, you know what, now's the time to do some upgrades. So one of the very inexpensive upgrades that really does dramatically change the perceived value of a unit is upgrading all your outlets and switches. And it's not nearly as expensive as people would think. So I brought my little tray of magic over here to actually take everybody through to kind of show them, these are what the options are. This is what people are looking at. This is what they do. And so we'll just start with what's called a regular old duplex outlet. Duplex because it's 2. Gang because it's 1. This is 1 gang of an outlet. So when you look at boxes, sometimes you'll say, I just want an electrical box. And then they'll say, how many gang in the box? 1, 2, 3, however many gang are in the box. So this is an outlet. This is a duplex outlet. What you're really looking for is most code in most cities and most towns across the country. They're either going with 2014 or 2017 code or newer. And that means you have little plastic things hidden behind in the outlet. So they make it really difficult to stick a fork in there. So what's really cool about these outlets is they have a little thing on them called a TR. So it stands for tamper resistant. I'll see if you can actually see that thing. You probably can't. But anyway, it says TR right on the outlet. We'll have a link in the description. But it says TR on there, and that stands for tamper resistant. So you want to make sure that when you're buying outlets that you're buying them, A, that are UL listed, because that means that they've gone through the specs of what is expected of a UL listed, i.e. if you have a fire from the outlet, guess what? They're going to look and see, is it a cheapy outlet that's not a TR, tamper resistant, and isn't a UL coded? Well, guess what? Then your problems have only just begun. So I spend a little bit more money. We get the right type of outlet, which is a TR, tamper resistant, has little pieces of plastic in there. But these are 2 grounded outlets. That's what that bottom hole is for. It's for the ground. Again, just swapping out these outlets. Typically, an electrician can swap these out in between 5 and 7 minutes. And so you just do the math. If you have 40 outlets in your entire place, you might just say, I need an electrician for a day just to swap out my outlets. You can also do it yourself depending on what local codes are. But again, if you don't want to do it, you just want to have an electrician do it. This is a pretty easy upgrade. What's really cool is that this is called a Decora switch, or this is called a Decora outlet. What's really cool is they also make, this is what's called a single gang switch. Now, this is a single pole and a single pole means that you have only one switch that operates the light in the room. That would be this switch, a paddle switch, just like this. This paddle switch that operates that one light, this is a one-way single pole switch. If you have one of those lights that has an upstairs switch and a downstairs switch, then you need a 3-way switch, which basically means one becomes active, one becomes passive. So if you click this one on downstairs, it turns the light on. But then when you get to the top of the stairs, you want to turn it off. Doesn't matter what position the switch is in. You just click it the other way and that will shut the light off. So they make these in single pole one-way switches or in three-way switches. But the reason, if you hadn't picked up on the point, the reason I use this style is because they take exactly the same cover plate. So you don't have to buy a special one for the special scalloped circle outlets where that's a special plate that can only be used for outlets. And then for the switches where you have that little toggle switch, this one actually is a big square, a big rectangle paddle. It looks exactly the same. And so it takes exactly the same light switch cover, which means that you can pick a light switch that you really like that will always fit all of your switches as well as all of your outlets. Any questions so far, Dion?
So I used the information from your video and purchased all of the replacements for the place that I'm looking at, or the unit that's available. It was about $62. I think that's what I spent to replace all of the switches, all of the electric outlets.
Yep.
So only one set of three-way switches for up and down the stairs.
Yep.
There was a plug-in on the outside, and in your video, you talked about the difference between interior and exterior plug-in. So what is the rating difference on that?
So the difference mainly that you're looking for there is this little blue thing, and this one's in blue, sometimes it's in black, but you're looking for the WR, which is a step above the tamper resistant. This is actually weather resistant. So this can actually get hit with some water. It can be out in the cold. It can do all of those things where these are really indoor outlets. These are really outdoor outlets, weatherproof. But what's also cool about this is also a integrated GFCI switch. So if this has a surge, if you've ever hit one of these things with water or too much water and then the thing goes pop, you don't have to run into the basement to then flip the breaker, to then go back up to this and then flip this. This basically has a breaker built in. So you literally hit the reset, or you're waiting for it to dry. I would actually take some compressed air. I would blow it out, give it some time to dry. And then you can literally just hit the reset button on this, and then it will likely come right back to life. But it saves you that trip from having to run inside, go to the actual panel and shut that off. And it also offers you safety at the device that somebody's not going to become electrocuted if they try and go plug in while the thing's still wet.
Right. Most local codes require, here in my area, I do if it's within 6 feet of water. Some codes it's within 8 feet of water.
It's usually
you have to have a GFCI in there.
Mm-hmm.
I have a unit where it's their townhouse style, but the bathrooms are above and below the other. There's 2 bathrooms. There's one GFCI in the lower, which operates both bathrooms. The second outlet is run through that GFCI, so they can be a pass-through as well.
Yep.
So here's some really simple things that you can do that don't cost very much. First, I put in these coated locks. Second, I put in these motion sensor LED exterior lights. And third, less than $100 for all of the material to replace all of the outlets so that the place looks uniform, it looks updated, and it really helps. This place was rented when I bought it for $11.50, and it made sense.
Yeah.
With these simple updates, with it listed at $2,200, there was a line of people, and I'm sure about 80% to track with Matt's numbers are not going to hit the criteria that I'm looking for, but you only need one.
It's true.
And yes, flooring costs money. Paint either costs money or takes time, depending on if you're going to do it. These are simple updates that you can do that can really increase the rent rate that you're going to get. Now, I really suggest checking out Matt's product reviews. We both self-manage. Matt, you have about, at last count was 100 and how many units?
117 right now.
117.
We should, by the end of this week, it'll be 121.
Okay. I'm at 16. I self-manage, but I don't tend to do things. I mean, I'll go buy the materials for the handyman or the electrician or who's ever going to do it. So I don't pay an upcharge, but your product reviews are awesome. And I'm going to watch every single one.
If you're going for extra credit points, this is one of the newer, later, greater things. They make versions of this type of outlet. And so one of the things is phone chargers, right? If you have kids, phone chargers are a real problem because they have their chargers, you have your charger. It's a nightmare. And then all of a sudden, guess what always goes missing? How did we buy 10 phone chargers and we still don't have any phone chargers readily available? That's what's awesome about these particular outlets. These will actually take a USB to C. So you can actually plug your USB cord right in there and your seat, and it goes right into your Android device or your iPhone. They make these. I like them because it has that little trap door in it, so I don't have to look at it if I don't want to look at it. It looks like a normal outlet. These outlets are only about $6 or $7 a piece. So while they're a little bit more expensive than a regular duplex outlet, tamper resistant, these are still tamper resistant, but they have that little door. They actually now make an additional outlet that is actually a pure C-to-C drive outlet, which actually allows for high-speed charging. My recommendation is you don't need to go nuts and put them all through the house, but I always put one in the bedrooms on where the bed wall is. That way they can tap into that. And then I also put at least one where the couch is going to go in the living room. And I put at least one in the kitchen that's far enough away from the water, but also is on the counter. That way, if somebody's sitting there cooking dinner or even eating dinner, they can actually still charge their phone. So for an extra $40, you can really get the extra credit. And again, these are features that when I walk through my units, these are features I talk about because they're just like, man, that's so cool. You've thought of everything. Like this really is a completely gone through an updated unit. Electronic door locks, newer lights, exterior light sensors. All of the outlets are brand new. All of these updated feature outlets are new. These things are absolutely awesome. And I would encourage you to go that extra $40, $50 and make sure that you use an outlet like this. And they can be all C's or they can be USB to C, but these fast charging outlets are absolutely fantastic, especially since we all have so many mobile devices.
Yeah, I definitely recommend people do that, at least in the kitchen. Like if nothing else, if you don't want to do it everywhere else, I every single one of my units, the kitchen has it because that's the place where people charge when they come home. Matt, I'm sure people are going to have questions. If they want to reach out and ask you, how can they get a hold of you?
You can certainly take a look at the additional landlord product reviews and leave questions on there because I still answer questions on those videos all the time because we're constantly sending those videos out to folks and having them take a look at them on the site. And then if there's something more intricate, feel free to email me at lumberjacklandlord@gmail.com. I'll certainly take a look at it. If it ends up being something that's going to be a super long response, it's probably something that we'll use to teach other folks, and I'll either do a video on it or I'll share it on the Sunday live stream and take you guys through that scenario. That way you can have the best explanation, not just a typed up email.
Matt, thanks for taking the time today to do this. I understand with your job, you might not have as much free time to do stuff like this as I do. But, someday you're going to retire.
But not today.
It's true.
Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.